I've told you severally that with these things we are doing on security and paying salaries as and when due, and the growth in the economy to 3 trillion naira, let me tell you the growth pattern. In 2014, Anambra State grew by 13.8%. Nigeria as a whole grew by 6.5%. In 2014, Anambra grew by 15%. Nigeria grew by 2.5%. In 2016, Nigeria went below the line. That is negative 1.5. Anambra was 1%. So Anambra was the only state that didn't see recession in Nigeria. If all states in Nigeria were to be like Anambra, we won't be in a recession. And that is very important. That's the that is what I'm bringing.
It was reportedly, it was allegedly reported that what the former governor of Anambra, Willie Obiano, is dead, and what he died of heart attack in UK, just like Ifan Oba also died in the in UK. A lot of people have come out and said, what is it that Nnamdi Kanu prophecy and cause is what is affecting these southeastern politicians that were involved in his kidnap from Kenya to Nigeria? What's your take as a guy?
Yes, a lot of change has been on this matter as the revelation keep on coming consistently that the something the former governor of Anambra State, Willie Obiano, the fourth governor of Anambra State, who served that state for 8 years. If you can remember, he has a running battle with EFCC, talking about over 4 billion, missing misappropriation money and all that. But that notwithstanding, if you look at Obiano's, Willie Obiano's, running battle as Anambra State governor, that was in the heat of the IPOB Buhari factor as at that time. So, but the news just break out, and reportedly in different online media platform that the man might have, passed away in faraway London over an undisclosed illness, pointing towards urinary cancer or whatever that has came up with that he couldn't survive it, and he eventually passed on according to that report. So what we are hearing at this point in time now that he is not going to be buried in Anambra State. Wherever they want to take his body to, they should just take his body to anywhere. The Igbo leaders, the Igbo youths, of course, the IPOB members are saying they don't want to see him. That after all, he is one of the ones who connived with another late, IPOB alleged enemy, Ifan Oba, that carried out that atrocity in Kenya and went as far as using some private aircraft linked to some Igbo politicians, even though it has not been thoroughly substantiated that a certain politician actually donated his private jet to be used to manipulate a certain process that took place in Kenya, and that was how Nnamdi Kanu was kidnapped. That process and everything, it has been having a real battle with now, and there was this also report that Nnamdi Kanu actually placed a cause, especially what happened in Impo during Obiano administration as governor of that state. There is the fourth governor of Anambra State. He took over directly from Gregory Obi, and was at the heat of Buhari's government, face off with the IPOB as at that time. So, and as governor of that state as at that particular time, we did not see much of his protective, tendencies on the issue that has to do with the face off between IPOB and the then president of Nigeria, who has also, either disappeared or actually, we don't know what happened. Just 3 years after he left office as president, the next thing we had, just less than 3 years, is that the late Buhari is nowhere to be found. Probably has passed on, or I don't know. There's still controversy, and the investigation is still going on there. This man, Willie Obiano, has been off the media space, the public space, for a very long time, signaling that has been running a deep health challenges and health crisis. And what we are hearing now is that it might be true, because this platform is still working very hard to verify that report, but some credibility has been added to it that Willie Obiano might have actually passed on, to the great beyond. Let me just put it that way, but what we are saying at this point in time, and that's what we're talking about. Like most of these politicians today who are actually against Nnamdi Kanu, who are actually against the realization and recognition and support for the liberation of their people today, one day, look back and people will see them as enemies of their own people, just like what we saw that happened to Ifeanyi and the rest of them concerning the role they played in that illegality and kidnapping, alliancing with the Fulani government to carry out that unfortunate onslaught against the IPOB leader, who has become a phenomenon now, who has become a celebrity now, who has become the face of African liberation and movement currently now. All this persecution that was meted at Nnamdi Kanu has turned positive for him currently now. As it stands now, Nnamdi Kanu is the most popular black man on earth. And what we are seeing now is that, how would you now justify Obiano's leadership and governance? What is his legacies of his days as governor? His time, as governor, what did he actually, left, behind? So that's what we are talking about. Did he actually achieve that reputable image or personality that is worthy of celebration by the IPOB members and Biafrans all over the world? Now, if the news is correct, that means another enemy, hero. I don't know how to actually put it, has actually, kicked the bucket, and that is what the news is talking about today.
Okay, but the kind of death or the way he died, a lot of people are linking to that of Ifeanyi. And the question is that we saw how he said he's going to arrest Nnamdi Kanu in 2017 when Nnamdi Kanu said there will not be election in Anambra state, back then. And he said he's going to arrest Nnamdi Kanu. But a lot of people have said, is Biafra really ordained by God? Because we've seen what's really happening as regards the enemies of Biafra and just the way they've died from last year to this moment. Do you really think that what Biafra is something that cannot be stopped?
Yes, Obiano was born in August 1955, and from that indication, I think he was able to experience one or two things that transpired in Nigeria as at that time, especially during the heat of Nigeria Biafra war. I don't think he would. He was just really a small boy as at that time. But even at that time, he would have understand, that his people is at war of, a survival. So on that note, even though we don't know from the banking industry, he managed to become the governor of that state. Yes, it's something to question ourselves. Has God really ordained the Biafran sovereignty for the Biafran people? The answer is clear, and the answer is yes, correct, 100%. It is being ordained. It took Israel 460 years, and thereafter, coupled with over more than 2, 3, 4, 5 decades, or let me just put it that way, before they become a nation today in 1948 or thereabout. So Biafra is still struggling for that recognition. Like somebody will say that consistency brings freedom. We keep on pushing. It's a struggle. It's a continuation of where our ancestors stop trying to defend our presence today. defend people like Obiano, who has turned against. Imagine if those people, as at that time, were not able to stand against these jihadists as at that time. You know, we wouldn't have had people like Obiano coming out to become governor. We don't have people who are working against their own people, you know, as traitors, you know, in that regard. We don't have the likes of IPOB. We don't have like somebody like, you know, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. Most of them, we are hearing their names today. We don't have them. But because our ancestors, you know, stood their ground and defended the race and the tribe of the Igbo race, that's why we are still seeing a space, you know, to catch up and continue the struggle from where they actually, you know, stopped. So it's something that have come to stay. It is a movement. It has become spiritual. You know, the Biafran spirit can no longer be stopped, because it has eaten into the consciousness of the born and the born and the unborn children and the generations to come. You know, the battle keep on moving right from that date till now. So Obiano should understand, and these people should understand at this point in time, you know, nothing lasts forever, but the legacies of what you left behind, you know, is what matters to many people. You are, you know, how long you are able to put some certain things in place. So, Obiano, we don't want to pray for such thing anyway, but it happens. But remember that you know, there is uprising already. There is different opinions on what you represent in Igbo land. There's different opinion on what you represent as a politician in Igbo land. There's also different opinion on what you represent as, you know, to IPOB members, to Nnamdi Kanu factor and the rest of them. So all these things will be factored in. You know, it was a heavy struggle to have Ifeanyi buried in Anambra State. And from the way we are saying it, and now, you know, there's going to be a restriction, because we can see, as at that time, the battle between Obiano was acting on the instruction of the man that said, you know, that the Igbo will not exist unless they embrace Ruga, unless they embrace Fulani, unless they embrace, you know, jihadis, and that's you know, Muhammadu Buhari. So that was the era where we had Obiano as at that time. So you can see how difficult it was, as really, you know, for him to liaise with the president as at that time, to start having a deep face-off with IPOB members. And up to today, Nnamdi Kanu rendered a lot of, you know, a statement and prophetically call for anybody that's standing against a Biafra restoration, that God will take them one after another. And immediately Obiano left office. You know, he had issues with the FCC, and from that point he went underground. Till this very moment, we are hearing breaking news that he might have done in a London private clinic, you know, as a result of illness, you know, that has eaten up his himself, unfortunately, and maybe he couldn't survive it, and that's how he actually passed on.
Okay, but do you think that when Ifeanyi died, you know, if it is true that Obiano is dead, do you think that he'll be allowed to be buried in Anambra? Just like, you know, we saw Tosu, you know, some set of persons were saying, because Ifeanyi was against Nnamdi Kanu and Biafra, that he might not be buried in Anambra. But do you think that Obiano will be allowed, or the rituals of him being allowed to be buried in Anambra will be allowed for him to be buried in Anambra?
Yeah, let me tell you, I don't know his Igbo title, what they normally call him, you know, as at that time. You know, unfortunately, very inactive man, but not on the side of the people. There's going to be battle for that in that regard, honestly, that Obiano will not be buried. But here, for what we are hearing, you know, and before that time, that he actually called for forgiveness and asked the Anambra people and the Igbos and the Biafrans all over the world to forgive him in that regard, you know, and have mercy upon him. Which on that, based on that apology, the Ohanese leadership might try to look deeply and see how they are going to reconcile that face-off before his burial. Outside that, there might be, you know, resistance to have him buried in Biafra land at the end of the day.
Okay, thank you. Okay, you know, we've seen the, you know, IPOB, ESN, we've seen what is currently happening in the southeast. As regards people still crying that the Fulanis are still ransacking the forest and their farmland. But do you not think that Anambrans might even still be angry with Obiano for working with the Fulani's government. Do you think that the ASN and the IPOB we want to still allow for his burial to take place if it is true that he is dead?
Well, let me tell you, that's another factor because there's no how we can throw away history of what transpired during Obiano as governor of Anambra State, and now that we are talking about his demise, and that those memories seems to be coming back gradually now. We are seeing on unverified report from ESN and IPOB insisting that Obiano must not be buried in Biafra land. Obiano must not be buried in Anambra State, and this is going to be another major, uphill task for the Ohanese leaders and the Igbo politicians to seek redress with the IPOB and ESN in that regard, to be able to, have Obiano given a befitting burial. If actually the report we are getting from these quarters are actually something to write home about, that Obiano is actually dead. But if it is not, yes, we are just trying to give you also an insight of the possibility if something happens and what the scenario in Anambra State is going to look like at the end of the day, that ESN and IPOB is going to become a major obstacle on how and where the late former reported late governor of Anambra State, Willie Obiano, will be buried, and how he will be buried. It is going to be a serious issue, you understand, because we are hearing also that once this report is thoroughly verified, then ESN and IPOB are going, not this kind of ESN that Nigerian government is chasing up and down. No, those ones are not ESN. Those ones are not IPOB. When you see the real ESN and IPOB, it's not somebody will tell you. They are organized, they are professionals, they are intelligent, they went to school, they are lettered, they understand the integrity of the struggle, they understand the blueprint of the struggle, they understand what it means at every point in time. Not this very one we are seeing up and down that Nigerian government is arresting up. No, they are coordinated all over the world, and they understand the word of command and control at the end of the day. So, we'll let us see how it's going to play off completely. But I can tell you that wherever Obiano is now, I think very clearly that the Biafran reality will be staring him on the face at this moment.
Okay, but what do you think will be going through the mind of Nnamdi Kanu if he hears that Obiano is allegedly dead? What do you think will be going through his mind? Because just like I said, as of 2016, 2017, there was a tussle between both of them, and Nnamdi Kanu for a fact know that Obiano, he really caused Obiano. What do you think will be going through? Do you think that Nnamdi Kanu will be believing that now we believe that he is a true prophet?
Nnamdi Kanu is a prophet. Nnamdi Kanu is not an extremist. Nnamdi Kanu is not an extremist. Nnamdi Kanu has survived so many battles. Not this Obiano battle or no. Nnamdi Kanu has survived a lot of them, and is still surviving at this point in time, But what is going to happen? Nnamdi Kanu is going to use Obiano as a reference point to these Eastern politicians of what is likely going to happen at the end of the day, and that there's no amount of attack, let me use that word, manipulation, bring down syndrome that can be able to quench the spirit of Biafra that has already been ignited and it's already illuminated. So it's going to call the attention to what happened to how the former governor of Anambra State, Obiano, actually, died, and what his death also signifies to Igbo. This is just like what every day we talk about Azikiwe today. How would you justify that Azikiwe? Nobody is recognizing Azikiwe, not because of that. No, because he did not fight for his people. That's the consciousness, and that's the sentiment out there. But if you talk about Nnamdi Kanu today, I can tell you 99% of South and Southeast are in synergy of what Nnamdi Kanu and his philosophy represent when it comes to freedom fighting, genuinely without compromising. So these guys might have compromised in one way or the other, in terms of their position as governor, and trying to tell you that they are under a certain oath and not all, and they go all out to kill their own people just to please this unfortunate unity called Nigeria. So that is the picture out there, no matter how you see it. Nnamdi Kanu, if the news actually filtered, I think for Nnamdi Kanu, from the revelation we are getting from the NAS president, who happens to be an inmate with him in DSS custody, you can see the revelation that is coming from that man concerning Nnamdi Kanu's personality, and that's what Nnamdi Kanu represent. But when it comes to the issue of justice, my brother, Nnamdi Kanu does not look bad, and he doesn't want to know anybody. And based on that basis, you understand, you can say those legacies is left for posterity to judge Obiano at the end of the day.